Paul, writing to the Romans, chapter 1, starting with verse 16, says, "For I am not ashamed of the gospel of Christ." You notice he does not say the gospel of Jesus. I am not ashamed of the gospel of Christ, for it is the power of God unto salvation to everyone that believeth, to the Jew first, and also to the Greek. For therein is the righteousness of God revealed from faith to faith, as it is written, the just shall live by faith. For the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men, who hold the truth in unrighteousness. Because that which may be known of God is manifest in them, for God hath showed it unto them. For the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead. So they are without excuse. Because that when they knew God, they glorified him not as God, neither were thankful, but became vain in their imaginations, and their foolish heart was darkened. Professing themselves to be wise, they became fools, and changed the glory of the uncorruptible God into an image made like to corruptible man. I have on many occasions tried to point out that the Gospels were originally intended as allegory, as much of the Bible is. Allegory to convey spiritual truths. But there has been, for nearly 2,000 years now, a movement that took this original philosophy and denied the power of that philosophy and has insisted that these Gospels are history books, that everything in them is 100% factual, that it is not philosophy, that it is fact. And unless you believe those facts, you're going to go to hell. And yet at the same time, these very same people tell you all you have to do is believe those historical facts. It doesn't matter how you live your life, as long as you believe. You can be an unrighteous person. All you have to do is believe the stories in these Gospels as historical fact. As I've pointed out many times, 2 Thessalonians, and with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they received not the love of the truth, that they might be saved. For this cause God shall send them strong delusion, that they should believe a lie, that they all might be damned, who believed not the truth, but had pleasure in unrighteousness. So God is going to send a delusion, fool those that do not choose to believe the truth, that do not love the truth, and those delusions are called God's spells or Gospels. The very first Gospel is the Gospel of Mark. Revelation speaks about the mark of the beast. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, or a number that originates with a man, and his number is 666. That number is 666. A curious thing, the Gospel of Mark had 12 verses added to it sometime in the 4th century. The Gospel of Mark originally ended in chapter 16 at verse 8. That Gospel, which we are told is supposed to be historical fact, ended with the women at the empty tomb being afraid and running away and not telling anyone. Now, it's pretty common for us nowadays to see movies end that way, so we really don't think about it. We see movies of people dying on a mountaintop by themselves, might hear their last words, or we see people die out in the middle of the ocean, and we might see depicted on the screen what were the final thoughts going through their heads, their final moments before they died. When it's impossible to know these things because no one was there to witness it. Well, so with the Gospel of Mark. In its original ending, the women ran away and didn't tell anybody what happened, didn't tell anybody about the empty tomb, didn't tell anybody what they saw. So how could Mark or anyone else know and write these things down? And yet for 2,000 years, people have accepted this as historical fact. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. I'll leave you to do the math. How many verses are in the Gospel of Mark? If you end your counting with the original ending of Mark at chapter 16, verse 8. Thanks for listening.